Hello and welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. I'm here at the News Forum where all voices matter. Sports betting seems everywhere, but what are the impacts? Today, my guest is Dr. Bruce Kidd. He is a former Olympian and he is also Professor Emeritus at the University of Toronto. Welcome to Boom and Bust.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, I guess the first question, if you could maybe educate my audience just a little bit, what is the history of sports betting in Canada?
Well, up until 2021, it was illegal, as was online casino gambling. But in that year, Parliament, the federal government legalized it and enabled the provinces and territories to regulate it. In Ontario, the government aggressively provided opportunities for sports betting companies, largely international foreign-owned companies, to establish operations in Ontario. Other provinces and territories up till a couple of weeks ago regulated it through the state alcohol distributor. But earlier this month, Alberta has followed in the Ontario path. What this means is that there are 40 plus companies in Ontario and now Alberta advertising for your betting dollar, providing bets on all manners of games, all the major professional sports, and some other activities as well. And in a very liberal way, so that in games, you can bet live while the games are going on. And you could bet hundreds of times on a game. In the old sports betting world, you went out to the racetrack and you bet on eight races.
Mhm.
That's all you did.
Right.
And you did it in person, and you had to wait until each race was run until you found out the results.
Mhm.
If you went to a bookie and a legal bookmaker, you could place bets on the outcome of games and races in other parts of the world. But now with the IT technology, and we must recognize that the IT companies are active partners in this industry, as are the professional sports leagues. You can literally bet every minute. You can bet on every pitch in baseball. You can bet on every at bat. You can bet on every umpire call. So it's endless. It's instantaneous, and the way the systems are rigged on this phone, uh, it's very addictive.
Mm.
Some of my colleagues in psychology call it the weaponization of psychology or the engineering of addiction.
And I
And
want
as
to
a
talk about,
result of
sorry, go ahead. I do want to talk about addiction, but I have another brief question, maybe just on the economics of it. So who profits from all these sports bets? Is the province profiting from it as well?
the province gets a small amount of tax revenue. It's not a lot. They can say they generate jobs, and that is also true. But because most of the companies are foreign owned, those profits leave. And is what is the Ontario tax is considerably less than what other jurisdictions uh, levy, so that here it's 22.5%, whereas in New York State it's 51%. So that there's not a lot of provincial tax revenue as a result. And no effort has been made to insert in that equation the social and economic costs through uh, addiction, through family harm, through lower investments, through lower savings, and generally speaking, uh, Tony, we don't have good research in Canada, but
Mm,
there's lots of it from the United States. And there, the research generally suggests that GDP goes down by
okay.
2% if it is legalized sports betting.
So do want to get into the impacts. We will do so right after this break. Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having a conversation with Dr. Bruce Kidd. He is a professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. Bruce, we were just starting to get into the impacts of online and sport betting, the addiction impacts, the social and economic impacts. Please continue with your analysis of that.
Well, I would say there are three serious harms that emanate from the explosive advertising since the legalization and legalized betting itself. In the first, there's problem gambling and addiction, which has increased in Canada six times since legalization, and the impact upon children and youth, many of whom have no legal right to gamble, is even higher. With the recent survey by the Canadian Centre for Substance Use and Abuse indicating that 25% of youth between 18 and 28 exhibit the symptoms of problem gambling or addiction. So that's, and the Centre for Mental Health and Addiction in Toronto estimates that for every single person addicted, there are 4 or 5 others who are negatively affected in their families as a result of a breadwinner losing income and so on. So that's a huge, huge harm. As someone who loves sports, I would say there are 2 other negative consequences. First, disgruntled bettors, disappointed bettors increasingly abuse, threaten, harass, sometimes in the worst sexist and racist terms, athletes who don't make what are called their prop bets. I mentioned the in-play gambling. A bettor can say, former Minister Clement will score 10 points in this game. And they will bet on that. And if you don't make those 10 points, they can threaten you. They can threaten your spouse and children. They can abuse you. And there are just growing cases of this. So much so that in its current round of bargaining, the Major League Baseball Association, Major League Baseball Players Association, is calling upon its employers, MLB, to eliminate prop betting, those on athletes betting from their industry as a way of reducing that harm. And I understand from something I saw just yesterday that the new president of the NBA Players Association, former Raptors star Fred VanVleet, is also suggesting that union call for an end to prop betting as well. So that's the second area of harm. And I would say the third area of harm is just to the integrity of sport. For people who follow sport closely, knowing that there could be a bet on every play and every call by a referee or an umpire, when something seems suspicious, there's always these rumors,
Absolutely.
The pitcher tanked the pitch. The umpire deliberately missed the call because he's, or in the case of a woman referee, she's on the fix. And that too undermines not only public confidence in sport, but also the allure of sport among the younger generation. If every time something goes wrong, and for those of us who watched the World Cup, there were these rumors all the time with some of the questionable calls. I mean, it's no longer the attractive cultural, physical, fun-related activity that we grew up with loving.
No, I think that's a really good point, and it is not only having an impact on bettors. What you're saying is it's having an impact on competition in sport as well.
That is correct. That is correct. The amount of match fixing varies from sport to sport. It's a complex story, but we could spend your entire week of shows talking about the incidents of match fixing and competition manipulation around the world.
We're having a conversation with Dr. Bruce Kidd. He is a former Olympian himself and also professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. We'll continue this discussion. We can take a little bit of a break. We'll be back after these important messages. Welcome back to Boom and Bust. My guest is Dr. Bruce Kidd. He is a former Olympian and professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. Bruce, looks like we're having a debate in this country in Parliament and with the Minister of Sport for the federal government about how to fund the system. And one idea is to help fund the sport system in this country via sports betting. I think you've called this a devil's bargain. I'd like you to elaborate on that.
I do see it as a devil's bargain because it would normalize sports betting and a message that it's legitimate, but it would also put the entire Olympic sports sector in partner with the betting companies. And just as it has created conflicts of interest, which we just discussed for the professional teams, it would create those conflicts of interest for the Olympic sports. I definitely think there should be more money for the Olympic sports. I would like to see us tax professional sport and related industries for the benefit of not only the Olympic sports, but grassroots sports. And as historian and someone who's long in the tooth, I like to point out that in the province of Ontario, for many years, we funded basic sports, school sport, learn to swim programs, leadership programs, gender equity programs with a tax on professional sport. Hard to believe, but that is true. But I don't think there should be a tax on sports betting. I'm okay with the lottery receipts going into sport development,
Right.
but that's because there's not the same possibility for abuse as there is in sports betting.
What would you like to see, and what are you advocating for with respect to sport betting then?
Well, former Olympic leader Marty Deacon, who's a senator in Ottawa, along with other senators, have initiated a bill to regulate advertising for sports betting. The World Health Organization, the major researchers, the CMA, and so on, believe that if there's only one thing you could do, reducing the advertising and these very attractive allures for sports betting would be effective. The playbook we all follow is what happened for tobacco, reducing advertising for tobacco, along with public education programs in schools and communities, significantly reduced the consumption of cigarettes and other tobacco products, and it reduced the harm. So that's the model. There's a bill S211, in the House of Commons right now. It will be considered for final reading and passage in September. It will lead to a process by which the Heritage Minister will be required to come up with detailed regulations. And my colleagues and I are lobbying as hard as we can for that bill to be passed. At the moment, it has all party support, with the exception of the Bloc, who believe in the principles but say that it should not be a Canadian bill, but a Quebec bill. So, I mean, as you know, because you've lived through it, everything in this country is complicated by federalism.
Sure.
But that bill is a good example, and we believe that it should be passed. In addition, there are some other things you can do that other countries have introduced. You could limit the amount a person could bet. You could bar or prevent bettors from using credit cards, so they can't go into runaway debt by betting. There can be mechanisms on the websites to exclude people who are clearly exhibiting the signs of addiction. So there are a number of other strategies, but we want to start with banning the ads.
And you're saying that this proposed bill is popular. It looks like if it comes to a vote, it'll succeed.
I'm confident as to it was supported in second reading
Right.
by an overwhelming majority of MPs, and let's hope they stay the course.
Indeed.
And that's what we're working for. If you can make a call to your old friends,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Okay, fair enough. Bruce, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to take another short break for some messages. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having a conversation with Dr. Bruce Kidd. He is a former Olympian and professor emeritus at the University of Toronto. Bruce, let's just talk more broadly in the last segment here about, we did talk a little bit about possible ways to enhance sport in this country. And there are all these different models around the world. I think in particular, there's a Norwegian model, for instance. Looks like Norway's been incredibly successful at the Winter Olympics, winning the last Winter Olympics. And we saw how Norway did at the FIFA World Cup as well. Are there possible solutions for this country when it comes to enhancing, as you say, grassroots sports as well as elite sports?
Well, I love the Norwegian model, and there are aspects of it, like providing strong physical education and after-school sports, funding community organizations that provide sports on an accessible basis. But I would caution that we're very different from Norway. We're not a homogeneous society, and we have to deal with the challenges of diversity. We're a huge landmass with tremendous regional, cultural differences and so on. And so we need a much more sophisticated outreach. But we have to, I would say the big challenge right now is that sport has become pay for play. There are opportunities, but they're increasingly offered by private entrepreneurs for fees that are so onerous that other than upper middle class and upper class families, they are out of sight. Sport used to be, Canadians used to be represented in international competition by men and women of all classes and all regions. Now it's skewed to the upper middle classes. One of my colleagues, Rick Grunow at the University of Simon Fraser University, has written a much read paper called Goodbye Gordie Howe. Working class and rural athletes of Howe's generation, whom we all loved, who all succeeded, and who got there on the basis of public opportunities and not a lot of money from his parents, would now have no opportunity to excel in sport. And so we've got to provide public opportunities. I've argued we should aim for a society where every Canadian is taught how to swim by the end of grade 3, and every Canadian is taught how to skate and play ice hockey by the end of grade 5, or reverse that, and make those skills accessible. At the moment, they're not, and that's the big challenge.
And it looks like soccer's having a moment after FIFA, and there's a talk of a lot more interest in enrolling kids into soccer programs. Is that going to be part of the solution as well?
I hope so. It's a much less expensive sport. We've excited everybody through our participation in the World Cup. We now have professional leagues in both women's and men's sport. Very exciting athletes, but it's going to take significant investment, a leadership and links to schools and communities. I mean, Toronto promised 12 new fields as a result of hosting the World Cup, and to date has only delivered on 4 of those fields. So we still have a steep hill to climb.
Yes. We've got half a minute left. Are you happy with looks like women's sport is having a moment as well, and hockey, basketball, etc.? Is that a good sign?
It's great to see. It's great to see. And if you go to one of those games, it's amazing the way that those outstanding female athletes are exciting girls and their mothers to think more seriously about sport.
Dr. Bruce Kidd, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. We could go on for, as you say, for a whole week of examining these issues, but I do appreciate you giving my audience a point of view on some of these issues. So thanks for being on the program today.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Bruce Kidd about the problems with online and sports betting, some of the solutions to help our kids enjoy sports in the future. Thanks for watching.